World War II amputee lesson. Hello, I'm Roger Weston. This is Lessons in History. Welcome to my world where history repeats itself every day. We shine the light on great events, great villains, great heroes, and we peel back the layers of history and try to uncover the lessons that we can use in our own lives. Now, over a period of a few years, I read 1,000 biographies, and I analyzed every one of them. Put together a manuscript. It's actually a series of 4 or 5 manuscripts, but anyway, it's just a private manuscript I have, and I did it for my personal interest. And out of those 1,000 biographies, I narrowed it down to around 200 key case studies and about 40 strategies that I found that turn up throughout history in all different circumstances, different fields, different people, different centuries. So, but the strategies are the same, and they work in all kinds of different circumstances. And so, anyway, in this channel, we're gonna unpack a few stories and see what we can learn and apply it to our own situation. So, Captain Robert Bader, World War II, 1931. Captain Bader wrecks his plane. He wrecks his fighter jet. And as a result, his legs are amputated. He loses both his legs. And this is a brutal thing to go through for Bader. He has a very painful convalescence. He's on morphine constantly. And eventually, he's a fighter, and he works very hard on his rehab, and whatever he can do. And eventually, luck turns in his way because he's given some prosthetic legs, and he works very, very hard in terms of getting to be functional again, to be able to walk. And he also tries to get his job back as a pilot. So this doesn't go quite so well. He runs into a lot of resistance. He's got no legs anymore, and he wants to be a pilot. That's seen as a weakness, and he's seen something of liability rather than a pilot who's needed, who has no legs. And so he doesn't get his post back, but he persists. He persists for years, and eventually, as the tensions rise and pushing towards World War II, Bader is a non-stop promoter for himself and to regain his status as a pilot, a fighter pilot. And finally, he gets his chance. And as it turns out, it was thought that this was a handicap that he had, but pilots have an unusual circumstance that most people don't face, and that's that they're hitting. Boom! They're hitting G-forces as they make fast maneuvers so fast that the blood drains out of their brain and goes down, and sometimes it goes down into the legs, oftentimes, and they pass out. So it's a problem. But Bader didn't have any legs, and so he didn't pass out. And it turned out that his little phone in the background, but it turned out that his situation was actually to his advantage. He started winning aerial battles in World War II, the Battle of France, for example, and many others. And Bader won 22 aerial battles. That's a lot of aerial battles that he won. And finally, one day he wrecked his plane again. He had another crash landing. And this time he was captured by the Nazis, which is never good, but he was in the hospital after his crash, and he managed to escape. It was like some old movie. He tied together a bunch of sheets and made a rope and escaped down the side of the building with his prosthetic legs. He made off into the night, and so they ended up catching him within 24 hours. But it was still a good effort. It was, and he continued. He was very persistent in terms of trying to escape over and over. Mainly, he wanted to harass the Germans and bother them. And so he was like that. And so there's a couple of key lessons. You've probably noticed them. One, obviously, is Bader didn't give up when he was rejected over and over again to get his job back, but he kept going, and that persistence paid off. And the other one, of course, is his what is seen oftentimes as a liability, handicap, a weakness. Oftentimes these things are blessings in disguise, just as the amputated legs were actually a competitive advantage for Bader, because he didn't pass out and he had no problem. He didn't have those limiting thoughts that, oh, well, I can't be a pilot anymore. But in fact, he was vigorously seeking to be a pilot with no doubts whatsoever, and turned out to be extremely successful. He rose up high through the ranks and had an epic career. So, thanks for watching. I'm Roger Weston. One battlefield, another place in where there was crash landings in World War II was in, Kiska Island in the Aleutian Islands. A lot of people don't realize there was a World War II battle in America. A lot of people don't realize that. It was in Kiska Island, a remote Alaska island. And novel I wrote recently called The Golden Catch by Roger Weston takes place. A lot of this thriller takes place on Kiska Island with the battlefield as a setting. To this day, there's the ruins of this battlefield are on Kiska Island, one of the most remote islands in the world. Anyway, if you're interested, check it out. Grab yourself a copy. It's available on Amazon. Thanks for watching. I'm Roger Weston. This is Lessons in History.